Hey, how's it going, guys? Domino Paris 21 here, and I'm back again with another top 5 video for you all. So for this top 5, I thought to basically share with you guys some of my personal favorite cards in Vanguard today. And you know, it was really interesting trying to make this list, just because there's a lot of great, impactful, memorable cards that I've personally experienced through my few years of playing this game. And while it was really hard to make a top 5 list, considering that I've actually realized there's a lot more cards than I thought that I really wanted to share with you guys, my own personal favorite Vanguard cards, I thought to, of course, potentially have some more future lists for you guys. But for this list, to kick things off, since most of these cards have been cards I've been playing for some time now, I thought to kind of just bring things back a bit and just bring out my Urza Scarlet mat for you guys. You know, don't worry, guys, I never threw this away. I always kept it in a nice, safe place for occasions like this. But yeah, so let's get started. So first off, for my number 5 in the list, you have Gauntlet Buster Dragon. Now, it's a fairly new card, of course, released in set 10. And, you know, I was really flip-flopping between this and Dragonic Descendant, and while Dragonic Descendant I felt like got more of the hype compared to Gauntlet Buster, Gauntlet Buster Dragon has definitely been growing on me, and between Dragonic Descendant and Buster, I just felt Gauntlet Buster to be more enjoyable to play. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've slammed someone for like 3 damage from him alone without even hitting a critical trigger, or I came back from my opponent critting me to 5 so early, and then I just went back and just dunked on him for like 4 or 5 damage when he was at 1 or 2 damage. So he definitely came back, and he definitely has helped me make a comeback in a lot of my games, close out a couple of games, and just, I mean, he's just awesome in general. I mean, just his artwork is really cool. I'm really grateful that I do have a few SPs of him. Looking at getting more probably too. So I definitely see myself playing Gauntlet Buster Dragon in Eradicators for some time now, especially looking forward in future sets. So definitely a very amazing card. Now, going on to number 4, I am dedicating this spot to Silent Tom. Silent Tom, of course, I do run 4 of in my Solus OTT deck, which, as you guys probably know, is one of my favorite decks all time in Vanguard. Silent Tom, of course, at the time of his release, he was like one of the most broken tier cards, just because, you know, at the time, 10k Vanguards were a little bit more relevant because, you know, yeah, the game was kind of just getting started, and like Kagero only had access. Kagero pretty much was the only one who had access to a definitive 11k Vanguard. Dragon Empire for the most part, and even as the game progressed, you know, Gold Paladins, most of their Vanguards were 10k base anyway and such, so Silent Tom was just such a crazy, impactful card at that time, and he still is. But of course, with Cross Ride still being somewhat of a thing, you know, he definitely lost some power. But nonetheless, I mean, still a crazy, crazy good card. Very annoying for my opponent, especially when I drop two columns of him. But another thing I love with Tom, for one thing, his original artwork is better than the reprint. I don't care what anyone says. There's nothing. I feel like there's nothing more badass than pointing a gun at you with a nice hot spirit floating around you as you smoke a cigarette, compared to being a mummy. Just think about that for a second. So yeah, original artwork all the way. So yeah, Silent Tom, number 4 on my list. Now number 3, I know a lot of my friends that know me, I mean, some of you guys should already know, this is gonna be on my list, is Doreen the Thruster. As you guys know, Dark Irregulars is definitely one of my favorite clans. While I feel like they're probably not one of the most competitive clans, I still thoroughly enjoy playing them, and they're still one of my favorites, particularly because of this card. Doreen the Thruster, I mean, if you guys seen some of my matches, I can hit some pretty ridiculous numbers with her, just because, you know, stacking that +3 anytime you soul charge is so good. And, you know, I think the highest I've ever made in a column with her was like 2 Doreens in one column, and I broke 100,000. And of course, with the new DI support in set 12, I can easily exceed that, so I definitely have experimenting to do with that. But Doreen the Thruster, love the artwork. I mean, I love the color scheme on it. And I just remembered watching my good buddy Zag upon the release of set 3. You know, I kind of overlooked Dark Irregulars, but I was just watching him use Doreen the Thruster with Amon. And while he wasn't abusing the card, I don't know, it seemed very interesting to me. So I kind of picked it up, read it, and I realized that the +3 actually stacks. So I pretty much just went home, tried to create a list with Dark Irregulars that can abuse this as best as possible. So that's pretty much hence how I have all those regular deck profiles on my channel with it's because of her. So yeah, Dorian the Thruster, always gonna be one of my favorite cards ever. Now for numbers 1 and 2, I'm sure a few of you guys may already have guessed, but it was kind of flip-flopping between these two cards of which one should be 1 and 2. But what really was a deciding factor between these two was just how memorable they were for me and how impactful they really were for me for the game, you know, at the time I was using them. So with that being said, for number 2, it's kind of like a 2-card thing, but it's Dragonic Overlord and Overlord the End. Basically, the brief story with these two is that, as you guys know, Kagero has been my first clan that I played in Vanguard, and I mean, it's always going to be one of my absolute favorite clans. Dragonic Overlord, of course, was my first, like, boss Vanguard. You know, because at the time, when Vanguard was first released, my friends all picked Royal Paladins, and I was the one who picked Kagero, and, you know, I love the artwork of Dragonic Overlord. I thought he was awesome. His skill, I think, is still pretty awesome to pull off today. And, you know, it was just a very memorable card for me. And then, of course, as I was watching Season 1, I saw Dragonic Overlord the End being revealed, and I thought, oh my god, this card's awesome and whatever and such. And, you know, at the time, I wasn't really thinking about him being, like, the most super OP card, super meta card. I just thought the artwork looked cool, and, I mean, I thought he was, I mean, at the time, you know, I was kind of a novice to Vanguard still, so, I mean, the ability, of course, was amazing to me. And then, of course, I asked around to my buddy Warlock36, who had a little bit more experience about the cards at the time than me. He told me that, you know, the End wasn't going to come out for English a year later, so I was like, oh. So I was really anticipating the End for set 5, and when set 5 was finally released in English, I was on a mission to get a playset of the End. So, you know, luckily I have a great group of friends that definitely helped me out getting the Ends, so definitely I'm grateful to them for that. And definitely actually one of my subscribers, which I feel so bad, I can't remember his name. He actually sent me a couple, so definitely shout out to you if you're watching, dude. But yeah, the End and Dragonic Overlord, definitely one of my favorite cards. And then last but not least, you guys already know, I mean, this is kind of like for this card, this is the reason why I dedicate this mat to Urza Scarlet, and that is Scarlet Witch Coco, because I always say, I mean, these are two, I mean, I feel like they're twins. But the reason why I had Coco as number 1 is, you know, up until the actual New York regionals of 2012, which is the first regionals in English for English players, I never played in a competitive Vanguard tournament at all, not even a local level. I just never had time to at the time. But once I actually made some time to go to regionals, I wanted to play Coco. I remembered trying to build Coco post set 2, but then after seeing Little Witch Lulu in set 7, I immediately knew I wanted this card as my competitive deck until the End came out. So, you know, while I didn't necessarily made the results I wanted at that regionals, I definitely made a lot of, she definitely was very impactful for me. She definitely won me a lot of good close games, and it was just a very good, memorable experience just playing with her in the competitive scene. And even after that regionals, after going like, I think it was 6-2 or 5-2 or such or whatever, I can't remember my record to be honest, but she just started winning me more and more in my locals, and that's when I started really trying to get into the competitive scene in Vanguard. So, I mean, Coco definitely created a nice, great, memorable experience for me in Vanguard, and she was actually my first real competitive deck I've actually taken to a tournament. So that's why I made Coco as my number 1 favorite card. Definitely one of my, like I said, Solos OTC is one of my favorite decks. I will never, ever take the deck apart. Simple as that. So yeah, guys, so that is my top 5. As always, feel free to share down below what your favorite cards are in the game. Definitely look forward to seeing that. And once again, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm really glad I'm able to share this with you guys, and definitely expect some future lists as more sets come out. But yeah, and guys, feel free to leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.